kind of got into it, and I started studying about these wise men. And this is Epiphany, and people have new colors instead of Christmas colors. They have purple and gold and green colors for the Epiphany season. It's a big celebration here in Acadiana. But Epiphany means a new thing has arrived. A change is here. Something is coming that you haven't seen before. In the prayer books, they often refer to this Sunday as the manifestation to the Gentiles. The appearance and the acknowledgement of Jesus coming to earth from Mary. And the Gentiles that they're speaking of are the wise men from the east. They've traveled west to Jerusalem. Well, which Gentiles besides the wise men are receiving the manifestation? Is it other kings or just those kings? Is it the Gentiles throughout the world? Yes. And that includes us, these 2,000 years later. You know, the Jews knew, according to many scriptures in the Old Testament, today it was recited to Herod by his scribes from Micah, that a new king was going to be born in Bethlehem out of the line of David. But they didn't know when. And when this new king came, they understood, the theologians in the Jewish faith, they understood, the scribes and the Pharisees and all, that he was going to set up a new rule. And it was called a millennium, 1,000-year reign. There's going to be a new boss in town. Well, you can see how that would disturb Herod. He was used to being king. He had been put there by the Romans, who had defeated the Greeks, Alexander the Great survivors. They had taken over. So this was disturbing news. If the Romans knew that it was going on at this time, they would have been disturbed too. They become disturbed later. These wise men were members of the Zoroastrianism faith that came out of Iran, Persia. And they were scholars. For 1,500 years, their clan had been around studying things. They were wise men, kind of like monks were during the Dark Ages. They read everything. They got all of the scriptures, all of the documents from all over the world that they could collect, and they had been studying them, and they'd been passing down to the subsequent generations the wisdom of all the knowledge of the world, which included the Hebrew scriptures. Now, unfortunately for these wise men, when Alexander the Great showed up and defeated those Persians, he took it upon himself, in his wisdom, to burn their libraries. He destroyed all the things that they had. So they were then once again relying on their oral traditions. And they knew that this king was supposed to come in Jerusalem area for the Jews. So they were also astronomers. They were scientists. They studied the stars. And when this star appeared to them in their homeland, they knew this was not normal. And so they studied the scriptures and they decided that maybe we should follow this star. It's the sign, it's the light showing about the new king of the world. And so they got on their camels, as all us kids in Sunday school used to learn, and they started following the star. Interesting, in scriptures, frequently God is referred to as light. Angels are referred to sometimes as angels of light. sometimes bad angels, angels of darkness, the devil's angels. But light is an important thing in our Judeo-Christian religion. So when these guys arrive in Jerusalem, they want to seek out the authorities, and they find, where's the boss here? Well, Herod's the boss. He's been appointed by the Romans. Well, we need to talk to him. We're looking for this new king. New king? What are you talking about? New king. The scribes knew when Herod called him into court, saying, what's with this new king thing? And the scribes told him, yes, there's written in the scriptures that there's going to be a new king coming. And he said, where? And they said, Bethlehem. Well, we're used to larger territories here in the United States than what Israel is. It's quite a small area. And Bethlehem was a great distance, not from Jerusalem. I read that it was 5 miles away. Not a bad walk if you were fit and had good feet. So he understood it. He just didn't know where and how. So the wise men go from Herod, and it says, when the star appeared to them, I guess they only traveled at night, or maybe they would show during the day. But it appears from all of our traditions that they were night travelers watching the star. They were, quote, exceedingly joyous and happy. They had faith that they were going to see something really important. And they followed the star to the house. They're always depicted in a manger, but some of the versions of the Bible say in a house. And they came in and saw the child, and they worshiped him. They paid homage to him. They knelt down to him and respected his mother. And then they opened their treasure chest. One of the versions of this story I read yesterday said, treasure chest. When we were kids, we all went to the dentist sometime, and they would open up the treasure chest that had the treats and the candy and the trinkets in there. We thought that was a big deal. But a treasure chest is really something. I don't know if it's this big or this big, but whatever it was, it could be carried on at least one camel. They gave a lot. A treasure chest full of gold and frankincense and myrrh would be worth a lot of money. It was almost like an endowment, you might say, they brought to Jesus. Thousands and thousands of value in today's dollars. I mean, in today's dollars, 1 ounce of gold is $1,500. So a treasure chest of it would certainly be worth a lot. So they brought gifts to baby Jesus. So the subject of gifts is here. What gifts do we bring to Jesus? What are our gifts that we give out? Not just our talents, not just our money, but what are our gifts? You know, you hear someone refer to a child prodigy who can play Beethoven all on the piano like he's 25 years old and he's only 14. And they say he's gifted. So we all have gifts. We all have lights inside of us. What gifts do each one of us individually bring to Jesus, to the world, to our community, and to our family and friends? What do we bring to our families? Well, sometimes we certainly do bring money, treasure. They're frequently, I need help, I need support. And then when they're young, we just automatically do that. We pay for all their fees and all their dance, all their football togs, whatever they need. But sometimes we bring to our family wisdom. My daughter gave me a present for birthday, It's a little sign that I put up on my shop, and it says, Pawpaw's Fix-It Shop, where things are fixed and healing and feelings are fixed. So sometimes when you bring the child in your family over to you on the couch and sit down beside you and you put your arm around that child, you're bringing that child a gift, a warm, loving, accepting gift. You're bringing that child understanding. Sometimes you have to bring understanding to your children who are grown that you thought would know better by now. Sometimes the gift has to be patience, but it always involves love. Sometimes we get to bring our experience to them as a gift, or sometimes we just bring hugs as a gift. I recently read the story about a soldier, a woman, who lost her legs in the war over in Afghanistan. And she returned home and went through a lot of rehab, and eventually they gave her a set of these artificial legs. And she was so happy to have these legs that she could stand upon. And so the interviewer asked her, what do you like best about your new artificial legs? And she said, hugs. Hugs? Yes. Now I can stand up and embrace and hug people. Before I was in the chair, they had to lean down. And it's just so much better if I can stand up and receive and give a hug. That's a gift. You know, in psychological and emotional circles now, they're saying how important hugs are for our mental well-being. I'll talk to Dr. McGuire about that later. And I really like that woman's story, that the best thing about her new legs was that she could receive and give hugs. So what do we give to our community, our city, our government, if you will? Do we give leadership, or do we just give protest? I mean, gifts are supposed to be positive, but I guess if you had constructive criticism, as they used to say in school, constructive criticism, that's a gift. How about you give to your local group, your government group, your wisdom? How about some action? You give some action. You give something that is part of the solution, not just pointing out the problem. Same thing happens indoors in institutions like this. What do you give to your friends? Sometimes family's not around. Do you give them support? Do you exercise those listening skills where you unconditionally listen? People pay $100 an hour for somebody just to listen to them unconditionally and not tell them that they're wrong all the time. If you listen to someone and lend their support, maybe you've got a neighbor down the hall who's going through a particularly rough time. Friends, can you give them loyalty? Have you ever had a friend that you thought was loyal until the pinch came and you went, oh my goodness, they're not loyal to me at all? Be a friend. Make a friend. And win a friend. You have a chance to tell them about Jesus. You can pray with people. When they're in a bad time, you can say to your friends, would you like to pray? There was a church in town on Johnson Street that they held up signs across from the church. Pull in your car if you need prayer through the window. Dozens of cars stopped. Pulled in there to total strangers from that church and said, I need prayer for fill in the blank. Whatever it was. That's a gift to this community. Bring our gifts, ourselves, our souls, our bodies, and our spirits, we say in the communion service. Bring our gold. Bring our discipleship. Bring our prayers as our gifts. Follow the star Follow the star. It will direct your path through and with Jesus. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.